So today I want to talk about George Lucas's Presents Howard the Duck. Now, what the fuck was this? Like, this is my first watch actually for this, and I found this for $2 at a pawn shop, and I'm like, even if it's terrible, and I knew it would be terrible, I had to watch it just because George Lucas's name is on it, and it's a Marvel thing. In terms of the Marvel movies, I try to watch every single one. And this is one that I've never seen before, and I honestly didn't know what to think, before I watched it. Like, I didn't know if I should go and seek it out, but then I saw it at that pawn shop for $2, and I'm like, okay, this is worth it, I guess. And honestly, I think it was, because this movie, of course, is terrible. It's, of course, a shitty movie, but it's really, really fun. Like, it's a really fun, hilarious, bad movie. Like, it's so bad it's good movie, because this is just so out there. It doesn't understand anything about how a movie works. Like, all this stuff just happens for no reason. It's really not explained much. So many random things happen, so many awkward interactions between humans and between Howard the Duck. It's just so odd that I enjoyed it for its odd weirdness. Like, it's really, really strange. I just thought it was funny, too, that George Lucas presented this. Like, this... And this came out in 86, I think? I think it said 86 on the DVD. But, yeah, 1986. So, it came out after Return of the Jedi, so he's done with Star Wars at this moment. Until he came back to the prequel trilogy, but George Lucas, for a while, wasn't doing much. Like, he did stuff like this, where he presented stuff, or he was involved in stuff, but he never really directed as much. So I thought that was funny that his name's on this, and it's funny in how this is so just odd and deranged. Like, I'm surprised, I don't know what he feels about this movie, because this reminds me of something like the Star Wars Holiday Special, where Star Wars is his baby, like, it's a thing he created, but seems similar to that in just how batshit random-ass movie it is, like that. Like, it's very random, it feels so much like that in that respect. So I thought it was funny that George Lucas was involved, because it really seemed similar to that. And then we start the movie in a weird way, where, like, Howard the Duck lives on the planet. It's just a planet Earth, but with ducks instead of humans. Full-sized ducks. So it starts out with all these dumb duck puns, every single thing in Howard's house, everything relating to the Earth that the ducks live on, which the Earth is shaped like an egg, of course. But there's so many random things in the house where, like, there will be a poster of Indiana Jones, but it's a duck version of that. And there's duck puns everywhere. Like, it was really just overkill with the duck puns. Like, there's some really bad ones. Some of them are entertaining, but there's a lot of really bad duck puns in this. And then, out of nowhere, and this is the only thing that is explained later in the movie, but out of nowhere, Howard just sits down in his chair goes backwards, it goes through multiple, like, realities, dimensions, and then he's out of his planet, and then he lands on Earth in his chair. What? Just like out of nowhere. Just he sits down, his chair gets he gets transported to another dimension, another planet, and it's really weird. It's really out there. It didn't even explain it at the beginning. This is the only thing that does explain, because it does explain that he is brought through, like, a temporal, like, time rift or something weird like that. But watching this first viewing, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, he just is transported away, no explanation. Even they do later, but usually it's not. Things are usually not explained in this movie except for that. And then I like how he tries to get back in the chair later, but then, like, these people are trying to make him get back in the chair, but he has chair PTSD, because he's afraid that he'll get transported again, like, through time and space, because he just did that with this chair. I thought that was funny. But him and Leah Thompson's character, they kind of form a bond, and she and him go to Tim Robbins, his character Paul, who is this crazy, wacky, eccentric scientist who realizes that Howard is something that people would pay a lot of money for because he's a freaking he's a literal talking duck that's human sized. And he goes into the room, he goes to all the scientists, and he's like, ah! And then he just stops, and then he says, never mind, nothing. And then he just walks out, and just like, his acting in this is crazy, Tim Robbins. And it's funny that Tim Robbins, the guy who was in Shawshank Redemption, is in this, and I didn't expect that. And I like how this came before that. It's funny that he's in considered one of the worst movies ever made, and then Shawshank, which is considered one of the best movies ever made. Like, that was really funny to me. He really did have this silly acting. Like, I don't want to say it's bad, it's just really silly and really quirky. But it's really random after this. Like, so Howard, after they leave Paul's science lab, all this random shit starts happening to where Howard needs to get a job. So he has all this random shit happen where, like, he doesn't get, like, he just does a lot of random jobs, and, like, he realizes that ducks in this world can be cooked and killed, and he's all pissed about it, and it doesn't really add up to anything at all. Really, nothing really added to that. But I don't know. And then we've got this weird ass thing that happens where Jeffrey Jones, his character, out of nowhere, literally out of fucking nowhere, out of left field, he starts to become possessed by something. And then you realize that it's an evil dark overlord. But the only thing that's happening with Jeffrey Jones and his what he looks like is that he just starts becoming more like demented looking on the face, and then he slowly gains abilities as Dark Overlord, where like he'll break the mustard and ketchup bottles at the diner they're at running away, and then he'll eventually be able to do what Dark Overlords can. But it is so out of fucking left field. Like, what? Like, that just doesn't even, literally there's no build up to it. It's just, it happens. It's just so odd. And I love the fact that he becomes all powerful in the diner, and then some guy, his reaction is, oh, that guy must have had the chili, because Jeffrey Jones is just freaking out. So shit like that is just so weird. And then we get to the ending, which I enjoy it for its insanity, where Howard and Paul fly in this little plane and are flying around while the police are chasing them. And even though it's silly and over the top, it's a cool action scene of them like flying around all close to ground, with the cops on their tail. Like, I thought that was actually really cool, and it actually did make me go, okay, that's fun. It's a fun moment in the movie, a fun action scene. It's just got a lot of silly shit in it, of course, of course, but I really like that scene a lot. And then like we get to the end where like he fights evil Jeffrey Jones, and it just, like, you get this silly line right before he fights him, and Howard the Duck, his line is just, prepare to eat beak. Like, I don't know what to think of that. Like, puns like that are just so stupid. And then we get the weird-ass monster that is taken out of Jeffrey Jones. Like, he was possessed and then it comes out of him. And then the monster is this, I think, stop motion, I guess? Stop motion CG. Like, it's from 1986, so it's gotta have a little CG in it, but whatever it is, that effect is kind of not too bad. Like, it's interesting looking, but it's such a weird-ass looking monster. And then, of course, Howard the Duck is dead. Oh, no. No, he's not. He's not dead, of course. Movie, don't trick me. Don't do that. Just kidding. Just kidding. And then he and Leah Thompson just... Howard just lives on Earth and just plays with her band and they sing the song Howard the Duck, and the movie ends. And I just sat there like, like, I don't, like, it's a bad movie, but it's entertaining as hell. Like, it's really fun, really entertaining. It's just, so many things in this movie are so out of left field that it's just like, you can't, like, you would never anticipate or expect anything that happens in this movie. It's just so out there. You wouldn't expect, it starts out with this duck, Howard. He gets transported to Earth randomly. And then it has shit like one guy, Jeffrey Jones, who just gets possessed, just randomly possessed by this demon, and Howard fights the demon, and it's just so random and so weird, and like it doesn't do any type of like trying to make it make sense. And I feel like that's why people think this is a very fun campy pleasure, and I thought it was really fun too. I thought it was very enjoyable. It's definitely a bad movie, but overall, I thought it was really, really entertaining, and I liked it overall.